What is going on, Small Gains family? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I had such nice feedback on the episode with Tom last week. Loads of you said you really enjoyed it. So, yeah, proper buzzing and hope it was helpful. Today's topic is inspired by a chat that I had today with one of my one-to-one team and my barber yesterday. So, shout out Grace and also shout out to my barber. It wasn't the same person I normally have, and I've forgotten his name, and I feel so bad about it. But if you're watching this, let me know what you think of the cut. Like, did he do a good job? It's always so scary when you go to a barber you don't normally go to, especially when you're trans, because you don't want to out yourself, but also you're worried that they'll misgender you and also be like, why are you coming to me? But I had a lovely chat with him, and he was super sound, and he didn't butcher my hair, so happy days. What's been going on with me recently? I've mostly just been training for Hyrox at the end of January next year. That's where my training's going at the moment. So I'm doing Hyrox Pro, and I've talked about this a little bit on Instagram stories, and a few of you have been saying, oh, do you mind me asking, like, what gender did you enter as? And I chose to enter as Women's Pro purely just based on the fact that it's easier to get an entry for in the ballot. And you know me, I have no aspirations to win. Obviously, that would be nice, but I'm not a person that trains for comps to win. I do them because I enjoy them. I enjoy having a goal. It gives me a focus. And also, it gives me lots of things to talk to you lot about. And at the point where I'm not going to go to the World Championships of Hyrox, no one's going to give a shit about what I compete as. Not really. And this seems weird, right, with all the stuff that's currently going on about the Olympic ban and things like that for trans people and for women with high testosterone, which is bonkers. That's definitely a story for another time, I think, though I could rant about it all day. But every competition I've actually ever done, CrossFit-wise, functional fitness-wise, I've always actually entered as female. Anything I've done where I've had the option to enter as a non-binary person, I obviously have. And I've got some people in Fuzz Culture Club that are non-binary, and if they pass more male, they'll enter as male. If they get read more as female, they'll enter as that. And really, when you're a leisurely athlete, it honestly doesn't matter that much. No one cares. But at the point, obviously, if you won something or qualified for something, a few people might kick up a stink. But the chances of me doing that at any of the comps I enter are so slim. And I actually spoke to Hyrox a couple of years ago before I entered my first solo race. And I said, I'm entering solo. I was assigned female at birth, but I'm trans, non-binary, and I take a low dose of testosterone. What should I enter as? And they replied to me and said, enter as a sex you were assigned at birth. Now, obviously, it's 50-50 how I pass these days. It depends what I'm wearing. I'd say 70% of the time I'm read as male. However, if I entered under the name Lucinda Livingstone in a men's category, I'd probably get some questions when I checked in. If I enter as female and they see that's my name and they see that's what it says on my passport, they can't really dispute it. And when I'm in that starting pen about to start the race, yes, people may look at me funny if they identify me as male. But I think for the most part, people will just assume I'm like a butch gay, you know? So if the gendered categories are something that stops you from doing a fun thing, just do the fun thing. Because when you're at leisurely athlete level, no one really cares. If I enter Hyrox Pro and come first in my heat and qualify for world championships, there might be some people that have something to say about that for sure. But that's not going to happen. So I may as well just enter as the thing that gets me the ticket and see how it goes. I think if I had the absolute choice when it came to like Hyrox, I would probably enter as a guy, but that's just harder to get tickets for. So why not capitalize on the gender marker on all of my IDs and my name that associates me as femme, as a woman for most people, and get that ticket because it means I get to do the thing that I like. So yeah, Hyrox on the cards in January. I'm about 3 weeks into the training block. I got bogged down with that horrible virus cold and flu thing that everybody had. So I had a week off and then had a lighter week last week, but back firing on all cylinders this week. I'm feeling really good. I've just come back from my third session of the week and feeling awesome. Got some intervals to smash out tomorrow morning before the weekend, but yeah, feeling good. So that's where I'm up to training wise. I don't know if you lot want me to share more about my own training or just my own day to day, what's going on in my life in the podcast. I used to do it when I started, but I feel like I've been very business over the last year or so. But if this is stuff that you lot enjoy listening to, let me know in the comments or drop me a DM on Instagram. And on that note, let's actually do the thing. All right, so today's topic is essentially about hunkering down for winter when it comes to training, but also embracing and enjoying cozy season, especially if we struggle with it. And I am a person that struggles with it. If you've been following me or listening to this podcast for a while, you know I hate this time of year when it starts to get cold and dark and it starts to rain. There's less sun, the days are shorter. I don't thrive off it. It doesn't make me feel good. And when October rolls around, I have lots of conversations with my one-to-one lot about navigating the season change for those that struggle with it. What are we putting in place to help that? Especially if it affects your mood, affects your energy, and affects your enjoyment that you get from training and running. Because lots of us won't run at this time of year. It's dark before we go to work. It's dark after we finish work. Are we doing a run before or after work when it's like that? If it's not with a run club? No, not at all. For a lot of us, we might not feel safe doing that. And a lot of folk also don't necessarily have the time to do it on flexi time with work if they work from home or on their lunch break. So that kind of leaves people with the treadmill. Treadmill doesn't feel very motivating, does it? Unless you watch an episode of Grey's Anatomy while you're on it, like I do, I guess. But there's a lot of factors about doing things before and after work that are affected seasonally because of things like this. Does anyone want to get up at 6 a.m. and defrost their car or walk to the gym when it's really cold and wet? No. And when it's warmer and lighter, it's just so much easier to do that. So how we approach this time of year up until March, if we struggle with the seasons changing and we don't actually like winter. Some people obviously like winter, and you know what? I am actually quite jealous, but I'm a sun baby forever. But if you're a person that does struggle with it and you find that your adherence to your training actually starts to go down, and that's a pattern that you see every year, are you supporting yourself in the way that you'd want to if you know that this happens every year, but you say, well, this will be the year that I don't drop the gym habit or the run habit in winter, and then every winter comes around and you do drop it, and then you beat yourself up because you didn't get what you wanted out of it. And I guess the equivalent to that is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Like this year it's going to be different. So what are we changing? And I think a lot of people go into winter being like, this is a really good time for me to hunker down. There's a little bit less going on. And some people think the last thing I want to do is go to the gym before or after work or on a weekend when it looks like that outside. But then 4 months down the line, they'll be like, I wish I had kept on top of my running or kept on top of my strength. But instead I laid on the couch for 6 hours every night. And there's totally nothing wrong with that. But if you enjoy your fitness and this is a barrier to entry for you at this time of year, you can set yourself up to have a little bit of a better time by making it as easy and as attractive as possible. So a few examples for you about how I change my routine quite drastically in winter. And obviously I'm self-employed, so it may be easier for me than for others. But a lot of the changes that I make aren't to my working hours. They're actually around that. And I also find that I train in the day less. And normally my sweet spot for training is around 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon or around 10 a.m. The dead hours of the gym, I can film, I can crack on, and I'm not in anybody's way. The gym is quiet, happy doggy. But when it gets to this time of year, I've got a little dog that's scared of the dark. And where I live, the fireworks from October all the way to January are horrendous. They are so loud and so stressful. And I can't imagine what they're like for Aubrey, because for me, they feel like that. And that basically means that Aubrey is scared of going outside on an evening for a walk. So it means that instead of giving her 2 walks, I have to give her 1 much longer walk during the day. That feeds into my work and gym time. So that to me means I then either have to train first thing or last thing. So depending on what I've got going on in my schedule, where I need to be, any social plans I've got, I do a lot of early morning sessions where I just roll out, and I do a lot of evening sessions where I won't get home till maybe like 8:30, 9, I'll eat and then just crash out. So that's something that really, really changes for me. And normally I'm not into going to the gym at rush hour just because it's busy. It's obviously harder to film for work, but also because it can be overstimulating. And at this time of year, the great thing is gyms aren't busy. As soon as it gets to the end of October, there is a lull all the way until January. So I love to capitalize on that so much with evening sessions, because come January, it's going to be packed. So a really nice way to embrace the season change with workouts is to remind yourself that gyms are only going to get quieter every day that goes on from now until the end of the year. And that's nice. It means you can maybe be a bit more leisurely. Then when we think about running, obviously I mentioned a lot of us won't be wanting to run first thing or last thing. So if we're not able to do it in the day, that means first thing or last thing, potentially in the gym on a treadmill. Now that isn't stimulating for me. Doing longer runs in the gym, one of my people is great at them. We've got someone in Fuzz Culture Club that ran a 28K on the treadmill as part of their marathon training, and we were all just in awe because to a lot of us that sounds a bit boring. So absolutely fair play. But I don't mind doing my intervals because they're quicker, I'm running faster. It's almost like I don't have as much time to think. But if it's a difference between me running outside and not feeling safe where I live, and me doing 14K on the assault runner with an episode of Grey's Anatomy on, or a podcast or audiobook on, there's a way to frame that for yourself that can make it a bit more enticing than just a treadmill run. And one thing I've been doing recently is saying to myself, well, you've wanted to check this album out by this person. That album's 40 minutes long. You listen to that once, you'll have done 75% of your run. And I've been on this big push of really trying to keep up with listening to new music because it's something that I've dropped the ball on over the last couple of years. So when I tell myself that, I'm like, well, that's really cool. Or if a real good podcast episode comes out that I love, I'll save it for the run or the interval session where I'm just literally staring at a wall because it makes it more attractive to me. So gym's not being busy, embracing doing your runs inside if you don't run with a club or don't feel comfortable or safe doing them where you are. It all works out. And embracing the routine change feels hard at first, but you do settle into it. And I think I've tried so many times to maintain exactly the same routine that I have from April to September, in October to March, and it never works. I always need to adapt something. So the last couple of years I've just lent into it and it feels a lot better. Now, one thing that really resonated with me that one of my people said was when we were chatting about when you finish work and it's this time of year and all you want to do is get cozy with a blanket on the couch and watch all the good TV. If you finish work at 5, 5:30 and you're a person that works from home, if you don't go to bed until 10, you'll essentially just be sat wherever you live for like 5.5 hours every single night, unless you actually make a plan to leave. And sometimes we all need that. Sometimes we do just need to be a blanket goblin after work until we go to bed, and that's what the body and the soul needs. But the thing that I was talking about with this person was, well, do you want to do your runs on your lunch so you're not doing them when it's dark and then you can just finish work and be that blanket goblin? And they said, well, actually, I finish work at 4. So if I don't go to the gym, then I'm literally going to be sat on the couch for 6 hours and not really doing anything else. So actually, that movement and that time will be really good for me. And if that takes 2 hours out of my day from 4 till 6, I've still got all that time to be a blanket goblin. And that really resonated with them and with me, because if there's not a lot going on socially, if you don't do any extracurricular stuff, after work or on an evening, having something to leave the house for can be really important. And if you're going to sit in front of the TV for 5-6 hours every night, are you going to do that all the way through until April? Or can you dedicate a few of those evenings to training and accumulate a ton of run volume, a ton of strength volume, improve on any skills that you want to work on, take advantage of the quieter hours in the gym? So I really, really liked that reframe for it. Now, I can't do this episode without talking about the winter arc that has been coming around the last couple of years. For those that don't know, there's a very kind of bro-y gym culture thing about doing a winter arc, which is essentially just hunkering down, almost like hibernating, but the gym version, the fitness version, and then coming out the other end completely transformed when it's not winter anymore. And I think this is a good source of motivation for a lot of people, but I think it can also have its toxicities, and there's pros and cons for it, isn't there? The thing that I think is discouraging is men on the internet being like, disappear for 4 months, go to the gym every day of your life, take no rest days, track all your macros, come out the other end completely unrecognizable. Because is that sustainable? I don't know. And is that a good example to young lads wanting to get into fitness? I don't know either. I don't know if I've got the answer to that. And I think men encouraging men to go dark mode is problematic in itself as well. But on the other hand, using it as a motivator. I've not got a lot going on, so I'm going to pick a goal, like performance-wise, or I'm going to pick a skill, and I'm going to chip away at it over the next few months, and that's going to be a source of joy, a source of dopamine, a source of motivation, and a source of getting me out of the house. So that I think is quite positive, but that shouldn't mean you should stop hanging out with your mates or talking to your people or disappear completely off the face of the earth only to come back as the Incredible Hulk, you know? So where I want to get to with this, that I think is like the sweet spot, is embrace cozy season, make soup, go for hot chocolates, wrap up warm and go for some hikes or some nice walks, go and sit in a pub with your mates, have a nice roast dinner, watch all the good TV, work on your hobbies, embrace that cozy season, be that blanket goblin, but also don't let your gym and your nutrition habits go out the window just because the weather and the environment that we're living in goes a bit rubbish and we don't like it. It's like if we're going for a run and it starts raining and it's really miserable and it's dark, should that get to win? Or should we get to go and have our run, even if it's in the gym? And it's almost like, does winter deserve to win and then have us feeling deflated in a few months because we did have all this time to continue our training, enjoy our training, do the thing that we like, make progress with our fitness, our running, our strength, but then it will feel like winter took it from us. And I just don't think that should get to win if you're a person that has goals, cares about your training. So yes, embrace cozy season. Yes, hunker down and dig into your training, but let yourself enjoy both. And I think it was last year, another thing I've never forgotten from one of my one-to-one team was when someone is lacking motivation or needs a little push to go to the gym, in the Fuzz Culture Club group chat, they'll say, right, I finished work in an hour, I really need to go to the gym, I really don't feel like it. And what happens then is everyone piles on and it's like, come on, you got this, just go, start your first exercise. It's cool if you want to leave, but you've planned it, do the thing you said you would, see how you go. It's all right if you don't finish it. Just get in there and do the thing and see how you feel. And someone posted last year, I want to go to the gym, but I also want to be a blanket goblin. And my immediate thought was, be a blanket goblin that does both. Go to the gym, then be the blanket goblin. So if there's one thing I can leave you with today, just let this stick in your head when you maybe don't feel like you want to train. Be a blanket goblin that does both. You can get your runs in, you can get your training sessions in, even if the conditions are less than ideal, but you can also go home and be a nice cozy blanket goblin afterwards, and it will feel exactly the same. So if you set aside 2 or 3 nights a week to train, maybe even 4 if you don't want to train at a weekend, you'll still get the blanket goblin time. Give yourself some little goals to chase. You don't have to enter a race or a competition, but find something you want to work on or chip away at. And this doesn't even need to be fitness, like it could be outside of that as well. Plan some nice things in your social life for yourself outside of fitness. Get wrapped up, make the effort to continue to go outside, and just get a warm coat. I sound like the dad of fitness right now, I'm so sorry. But please get a warm coat because it just makes everything so much better. I got one off Vinted the other day. It was reduced from £280 to £40 and it was brand new with the tag on. And it's so warm. It's like an Adidas Terex coat. I'm so buzzing with it. Because when you've got something waterproof and warm, it's way easier to get outside. And that goes for your running kit as well. Invest in the gear to support the time of year. Oh God, that rhymed. I didn't mean for it to rhyme. But invest in the things that you're going to need. If you're going to run outside in the cold, in the dark, you need a headlamp, you need a waterproof layer, you need warm layers. You probably need some reflective gear. If you walk to the gym, you're going to need some warm layers to walk to the gym, because if you don't have anything warm, you're not going to leave your bed to go to the gym, are you? Invest in the basics that are going to really make things better for you. Like, I bought a heated blanket the other day. And I was like, this is going to be great because it gets so cold in my studio and I won't want to turn the heating on all the time. So I'm just going to sit under the heated blanket and do my work, and Aubrey can sit on the bottom of it, and happy days. And you know what? For the price of £20, it enriched my life massively. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but I hope I've gotten across what the intention of this podcast was, which was just, if you hate it, find a way to make it as nice for yourself as possible. Don't let it win over your training if training is important to you, and do both. Be a person that does both, because you can be. It might just take a little extra preparation and techers with the calendar. All right, that'll do it. I hope it's been good. Let me know if I've missed anything. Let me know if you have any good tips for navigating training and winter. I would love to hear them all. For those of you that are really wanting to take advantage of the quiet gym over the next couple of months, I've got a new program launching on my workout program app, Superhuman, and I would love anyone that might want to test it out for me before I launch it in a couple of weeks to get in touch. I've designed it as the only beginner program you will ever need to go from zero gym experience to being a person that confidently lifts weights and keeps their cardio engine ticking over. It's maybe the best program I have ever written for Superhuman. I'm so excited about it, and I'm really excited about what it's going to grow into. I'm not offering it to be tested for free just because it's awesome and I do need to be paid for my work. But if you aren't currently a member of Superhuman, I will give you half price off your first month, as I do for everyone. So if this sounds like your flavor, drop me a message on Instagram and let me know that you want to try the new Superhuman program before it launches, and I'll make sure I set you up with it. Superhuman is £19 a month, and I'm always happy to give you 50% off your first month just so you can try it and see if it's your flavor. Take it easy, small gains family. That is me out. Love you.